Prince William has now done something that his father never had the courage to do. He has gone straight after Camilla's family, cutting them off and removing them one by one. But what truly made everything explode was what was revealed about Camilla and her ex-husband. Secrets came out that were so dark and so personal to William that they made him completely furious. People close to the palace say he is not just angry, he is finished. He has made his choice, and he is not going back. Camilla watched everything happen, and she knew exactly what was about to come for her. So she made a move that shocked everyone inside the royal palace. The woman who was paid to help destroy Diana. William inherited the Duchy of Cornwall in September 2022. And with it came something that nobody in Camilla's circle had been ready for. The Duchy is one of the most powerful private estates in Britain. It is worth more than $1 billion. It brings in millions every single year. It supports the heir to the throne and controls a huge network of properties spread across Cornwall, Wales, and the Isles of Scilly. The moment Charles became king, all of it passed into William's hands. The properties, the money, the contracts, the staff payments. William looked at that list of payments like a man who had been waiting for this moment for years. One name made him stop immediately. Annabel Elliot, Camilla's younger sister, sitting there on his estate, taking money year after year as if nothing had ever happened. According to people close to the palace, William simply looked up from the paper, turned to his team, and said quietly, "I will deal with her." And everyone in that room understood exactly what he meant. To the public, Annabel was seen as a polished and respected interior designer. In 2014, a major British newspaper ranked her as the 5th most powerful female interior designer in the whole country. She sat in the royal box at Wimbledon. She appeared in official royal documentaries with a friendly smile on her face. She had been so deeply connected to palace life for so long that most people had stopped asking how she got there in the first place. William never stopped asking that question. Annabel was given her role in the duchy directly after Charles married Camilla in 2005. And William knew exactly how and why she got that position, which only made him more angry. Annabel had helped hide the affair that was slowly breaking Diana. She protected the secret and made it easier for two people to continue what they were doing while Diana was falling apart behind closed doors. And when everything was over, when Diana had died and Camilla became Princess of Wales, Annabel walked straight into a royal contract. She managed the interior design of duchy properties across Cornwall, Wales, and the Isles of Scilly. All of it was paid for by the royal institution, and the money kept coming in steadily year after year for nearly 20 years. The last known figures before William took control showed almost £20,000 in fees and more than £12,000 spent on furniture. But those were only the final numbers that could be seen. The full amount was never made public. Someone made sure of that. But the money was not the thing that made William's jaw tighten. It was what she had done to his mother. William never forgave that. Annabel's country house in Dorset was one of the places Charles and Camilla used for their secret meetings during the years of the affair. While Diana was at home with two young boys, watching her marriage fall apart around her, sinking into deep sadness and struggling to keep going, Charles was quietly going to Annabel's house. But Annabel was not just someone who opened her door and politely ignored what was happening. What she did was much worse than that. There was one specific evening during those years when Charles arrived at Annabel's home extremely angry. Something Diana had said or done had upset him, and he brought that anger with him through the door. He was snapping at people. No one wanted to be the next person he turned on. Camilla could not calm him down either. So Annabel stepped in. She grabbed her sister by the shoulders, looked directly into her eyes, and said, "Diana does not even come close to you. Go calm him." Then she pushed Camilla toward the bedroom door and shut it behind her. Her house, her bedroom, her hands pushing her sister forward. This was not a woman who quietly accepted something uncomfortable happening nearby. This was a woman who saw what was being done to Diana, a young mother in the middle of an emotional breakdown, and decided that it was completely worth it. She chose the affair over everything else. And even after Diana's death, Annabel never stopped defending the relationship in public, even though it had cost Diana everything. In 2023, she sat in front of a television camera for a BBC documentary called Charles III, The Coronation Year. The documentary was made to celebrate the coronation of Charles and Camilla. At that time, Annabel was still being paid by William. She was still receiving her duchy payments. She looked straight into the camera, smiled kindly, and said about Camilla, "She is his rock." And this point cannot be stressed enough. She said Camilla is someone who is completely loyal. Completely loyal. The The same woman who had pushed her sister into a bedroom so she could be with another woman's husband, while that woman was at home falling apart, was now sitting on national television and calling that loyalty. She said it without any hesitation. She said it while William was still paying her. Something about that moment must have settled something final inside William. And when he finally had the power to make her answer for everything, he moved very quickly. He removed Annabelle from the payroll without saying a word to anyone. There was no press release, no polite transition, no thank you for 20 years of work, nothing at all. The 2024 Duchy of Cornwall annual report showed her payment status in just one word: nil. Palace sources tried to soften the situation by telling the press that it was not about her work. But William's reasons had nothing to do with her job performance. It was about three things at the same time. It was about his plan for a monarchy where being close to the crown no longer guaranteed you money. It was a clear and cold message to every person in Camilla's circle that the protection they had under Charles was now over. And it was deeply personal in a way that reached to the core. William was not going to spend another pound paying the woman who had opened her home for an affair that destroyed his mother. But to fully understand why William could do this without hesitation, without fear, and without any guilt, you have to go back to a young boy who lived inside a life he could not escape. A boy who watched something painful happen to his mother for years and had no power to stop it. That boy is now a grown man. He remembers everything, and he has only just begun. The wound that never healed. William was 11 years old when he discovered that his father had been lying. It was 1993, and the British press had just released the full transcript of a secretly recorded phone call between Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles. The call had been made 4 years earlier, in 1989, when both of them were still married to other people. In that call, Charles told Camilla that he wanted to live inside her trousers. She laughed and asked if he planned to come back as a pair of knickers. He replied that he would be lucky to come back as a tampon. The country gave it a name, Tampongate. The entire nation was talking about it. And somewhere in Britain, an 11-year-old boy was reading those same newspapers and understanding every word. That boy was William. And what those words did to him was not simple shock. It was something much deeper. It confirmed everything he had already seen with his own eyes. The moments when he saw his mother crying quietly and refusing to explain why. The times when she seemed lost and broken. Now he understood where all that pain was coming from. Most people remember the joke about the tampon. What most people forget is what else was said in that conversation. Charles and Camilla spent most of that call making plans. They talked about which friend's house they could use for their next secret meeting. They discussed which people in their circle would lie for them and which ones would help cover things up. Annabelle's house was one of the places mentioned. William was only 11 years old when all of this became public. He did not hear it from his father. He learned it by reading newspapers, just like millions of strangers. And the affair that was revealed in that call had been going on since at least 1980, before Charles had even married Diana, before the wedding, before everything. This leads to one of the darkest parts of this entire story. Camilla's former brother-in-law, Richard Parker Bowles, revealed something that is very hard to take in. He said that Camilla had actually encouraged Charles to go after Diana. Not because she believed Diana was the right match for him, but because she saw Diana as someone she could control. His exact words were that Camilla believed Diana was naive and simple. Camilla knew that her own past relationships and reputation made her unsuitable to become a royal bride. The palace would never accept her in that role. So she made a cold and careful move. She helped guide Charles toward a young woman who would not ask too many questions. Diana was partly chosen by Camilla as a cover story. William is the son of that woman. He grew up in that home. He saw what that decision did to his mother from the inside. From the moment Diana moved into Clarence's house after the engagement was announced in 1981, Camilla had already started working the situation. A letter appeared on Diana's bed almost right away. It was from Camilla. It said, "Such exciting news. Do let's have lunch soon." Diana later described that lunch in private recordings as very tricky indeed. During that lunch, Camilla asked if Diana planned to hunt at Highgrove. She was quietly planning which space she wanted to keep once Diana moved in. What Camilla did to Diana in the years that followed was deeply damaging. Diana developed eating problems so serious that her body began to break down. She hurt herself. She spent years being told by the palace that she was unstable, unreasonable, and too emotional to be believed. Charles told her again and again that the affair was over. He looked directly at her and said it, and it was not true. What happened to Diana has a clear name today. It is called gaslighting. It means slowly making a person believe that what they see and feel is not real. And in the end, all of it pushed Diana toward her early death. What came after that was something no child should ever have to go through. William and Harry were not given grief counseling. 6 days after Diana died, the two boys were placed in a funeral procession and told to walk behind their mother's coffin through the streets of London. William was 15 years old at that time. He walked the entire distance in silence. He held himself together in front of the whole world while everything inside him was breaking. And he remembered every moment. During those years, William and Harry gave Camilla certain names. They called her Lady Macbeth, Cruella de Vil, and the Wicked Witch of the West. Many people treated those names as simple insults from grieving teenagers. But they were not. Those are names of women who smile while they cause harm. Women who take what belongs to someone else and feel no guilt about it. The boys chose those names because they felt they matched. As William grew older, he carried all of this with him. And just when he had found a way to live with that past, one man came back into the picture. The man who had been married to Camilla before Charles. The man who had been part of that life during the affair. The man who, at 86 years old, is still appearing at royal events and bringing every dark part of this story back with him. The ex-husband who never truly went away. By early 2026, William had already taken action against Annabelle, but most people watching from the outside did not understand how deep his reasons really were. Then Andrew Parker Bowles appeared in public again, and everything changed. His appearance at a military memorial in February 2026, where he was photographed with Camilla's children, Tom and Laura, while representing Princess and at official events, brought the entire hidden history of this story back into public view all at once. Suddenly, people began to look at what William had quietly done to Annabelle in a completely different way. They started to connect the pieces. Everything that Andrew Parker Bowles represents, the open marriage, the hidden affair, Annabelle's home, the group of people who helped keep secrets about what happened to Diana, was now visible again. And once people understood what Andrew stood for, once they saw the world Camilla had been part of and the people who had protected her along the way, William's decision to remove Annabelle started to look like the first step in something much bigger. Something he may have been planning for a very long time. Andrew met Camilla in the late 1960s through his younger brother, Simon, who worked in her father's wine business. Their relationship went on and off for years. During one of the times they were apart, Camilla met Charles. At the same time, Andrew was briefly involved with Princess Anne, a relationship that could never lead to marriage because he was Catholic, while Anne, as a senior royal, had to follow the Church of England. By 1973, Andrew and Camilla were together again, and their engagement was announced in the Times. It was said that this announcement was made without their full agreement, which pushed Andrew into proposing. They were married later that same year in what many called the society wedding of the year. There were 800 guests. Princess and attended. Princess Margaret was there. The Queen Mother was also present. On the outside, it looked like the start of a rich and perfect life. Underneath, it was already falling apart. Within a few years, both Andrew and Camilla returned to their old ways. Andrew went back to how he had lived before marriage, moving through many affairs with other women, behavior that truly shocked people who saw it. And here is the part that is hard to hear. The women he went after were not strangers. They were Camilla's own friends. The people she trusted, the people who sat at her table. Andrew was involved with them and did not seem to feel any need to hide it. One of those friends finally spoke to him directly. She looked at him and said, "I am really hurt, Andrew. I am the only one of Camilla's friends you have not tried anything with. What is wrong with me?" That shows just how bold he was acting, and Camilla returned to Charles. Charles had started writing letters to her within 6 months of her wedding and slowly began visiting their home on weekends. Andrew Parker Bowles became used to seeing the Prince of Wales sitting in his own house. His friends were deeply shocked for him. They felt he was letting himself be openly disrespected, but the truth was simple and harsh. Andrew Parker Bowles did not really have a choice. You did not stand in front of the future King of England and tell him to leave your home. So Charles became more comfortable. Then he became careless. Then he stopped caring at all. In 1980, he invited Camilla as his official companion to the independence celebrations in Zimbabwe, while Andrew stayed somewhere in the same social world, expected to remain silent. Then, at a polo club ball in Cirencester, Charles did something that left everyone in the room shocked. In front of many guests, he reached his hand into the front of Camilla's dress. He did it openly, where everyone could see. People froze. They looked at each other and then looked away because no one had the courage to react to what the future king had just done. Andrew Parker Bowles was there that night. A man who had taken part in the Grand National, who had led British cavalry units, who had served his country, stood there in his own circle of friends while the heir to the throne acted this way with his wife in front of everyone. And Andrew said nothing. He did nothing. He stood there and accepted it. Andrew Parker Bowles became known in some groups by a description that stayed with him for the rest of his life. People called him the man who gave his wife to the prince. His continued public support for Camilla was not simple forgiveness. It was a careful and planned public image. Think about what Andrew Parker Bowles looked like to the public. He was the husband who had been wronged. The man who had been embarrassed in front of his own friends in his own home. If anyone had the right to speak out in anger about Camilla, it was him. And people knew that. So when Andrew kept appearing in public and smiling, when he attended Charles and Camilla's wedding in 2005 and sat there without showing anger, when he went to their coronation in 2023 and watched the woman who had ended his marriage become Queen of England, when he was photographed warmly with their children, Tom and Laura, in January 2026, as if none of the past had happened, it sent a very strong message to the public. That message was more powerful than any official statement Camilla could have made. It said, "The man she hurt the most has moved on. So should you." Every time he appeared like that, it helped improve Camilla's public image. His willingness to show forgiveness became one of the strongest tools in rebuilding how people saw her. But now, at 86 years old, still appearing at military events, still being seen with Camilla's children, still representing Princess and at official duties, he keeps the whole story alive without even speaking. Princess and is one of the most trusted and respected members of the royal family. William values her greatly, and her close connection to the man whose open marriage helped allow all of this to happen matters. And right now, with William watching everything happening around him, that alone is enough. But Andrew Parker Bowles coming back into view was only reopening old pain. What was happening inside the palace itself was making that pain even worse, because Camilla was no longer just part of William's past problems. She had found a new person to focus on. And that target was Kate. Camilla versus Kate. There is one thing you need to understand about William before we continue. He is many things. He is patient. He is calm. He can carry pain quietly for years without showing it. But there is one line that, when crossed, turns all of that quiet control into something very different. And that line is Kate. William loves Kate in a way that is almost fierce. People close to him have said for years that she is the one person in his life he will not allow anyone to touch. Not with rumors, not with disrespect, not with the kind of quiet, planned cruelty that Camilla had been using her whole life. Kate was the one area where William had no patience, no tolerance, and no desire to keep the peace. Camilla knew this, and she still pushed forward. Camilla's behavior toward Kate is not separate from the larger conflict William is dealing with. It is tied to all of it. William had already removed Annabelle. He had already watched Andrew Parker Bowles bring the entire dark past back into the open. He is already working quietly to break down everything Camilla's circle had built inside the institution. And then Camilla, instead of stepping back, chose to go after his wife. That was the moment William stopped trying to manage the situation and started to end it. Camilla's team placed a story in the media saying that Meghan had made Kate cry during the planning for the royal wedding. A story that Harry and Meghan both say was completely untrue. That story spread across the world and caused lasting damage to Meghan's public image. When William found out, he called Charles directly. Harry later recorded exactly what William said. "Give P and Camilla an inch, and they take a mile. They have done this to me for the last time." William then faced his father and asked, "How can you allow a stranger to do this to your sons?" Charles reacted strongly. He shouted at William, called him paranoid, and defended Camilla instead of supporting his own son. It was the same pattern William had seen his whole life. Charles choosing Camilla every time. By late 2025, the tension between Camilla and Kate had become impossible to hide inside the palace. A source told the press that Camilla was naturally protective and easily annoyed, and that she felt frustrated by the public belief that Kate could do whatever she wanted. Behind closed doors, Camilla had clearly expressed that she wanted Charles to remain king for as long as possible. The reason was clear. When William becomes king, Kate becomes queen. Camilla loses her main position. Her influence, her status, her access. Everything she has worked for over many years disappears when that change happens. So she pushed back in the only way she knew. She made things harder for Kate and hoped it would not be noticed. Then came September 2025, and a moment that the whole world saw, even if many did not fully understand it. President Trump and Melania arrived at Windsor Castle for a state visit. The royal family stood ready to welcome them. William and Kate greeted them first, and Kate naturally began a friendly conversation with Melania. Then Camilla arrived, and the atmosphere changed. On camera, in front of a visiting president, in front of reporters, and in front of millions who would later watch the video, Camilla made a sharp, dismissive gesture toward Kate. Kate responded politely. She stepped away from Melania and moved aside. The future Queen of England was waved away as if she was simply standing in the wrong place. William saw it happen in real time. A source later said, her behavior in public, pushing Kate aside and speaking sharply, was out of line and upset William. Her lack of respect for his wife is testing their relationship again. During that same visit, William greeted Camilla with only 2 quick kisses on the cheek and then moved on. To someone outside the royal world, that might seem normal. But inside the royal family, greetings between senior members follow strict and careful rules. When someone of Camilla's rank is present, William would usually lower his head slightly as a sign of respect. He did not do that. Instead, he gave her a short, casual greeting, like you would give someone you barely know at a social event, and then walked away. In a world where every small action has meaning and every break from tradition is noticed and remembered, that simple moment carried a very strong message without saying a single word. The palace noticed. The press noticed, and Camilla, who has spent many years reading every room she enters and understanding exactly what every signal means, noticed most of all. A royal expert, Christopher Anderson, confirmed what people around William already understood. William simply puts up with Camilla. And Camilla, Anderson said, has always been a little afraid of William. She was afraid of him even when he was a grieving teenager with no power and no way to act on what he felt. Now he controls everything she depends on. He has already removed her sister without giving any explanation. He has already shown the whole palace what he is willing to do and how quietly he is willing to do it. Camilla has spent 30 years staying ahead of people who underestimated her. But William was not underestimating her. He never had. He had been watching her since he was 11 years old. And now, with Kate being pushed aside on camera in front of the whole world, he had seen enough. What happened next showed that Camilla understood exactly what was coming, and she was already trying to protect herself before it arrived. Camilla's fear and William's response. In late February 2026, a report came out that made royal watchers stop and read it again carefully. Queen Camilla had quietly signed a legal document that transferred ownership of Ray Mill House, her private home in Wiltshire, to her children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez. Ray Mill House is not just any house. Camilla bought it in 1996 using money from her divorce settlement with Andrew Parker Bowles, paying £850,000 for it. It is the place she has always called her safe space. She has said that gardening there is the best therapy for her. She grows vegetables there. She goes there when royal life becomes too heavy. It is the one place that has always fully belonged to her, and now she has moved it out of her own name. On the surface, this move could be seen as normal planning. Camilla is 78 years old. Charles is 77 and dealing with cancer. Moving property to your children in that situation is something many people do. Most people would accept that reason and move on. But most people had not been watching what William had just done to Annabelle. When William removed Annabelle, he sent Camilla a message that no official statement could have made clearer. He had looked at a 20-year financial arrangement built on royal access and loyalty to Camilla, and he had ended it quietly. If William could remove Annabelle like that, Camilla knew what he could do to her. The transfer of Ray Mill House was her response. She was moving her most personal and valuable property beyond his reach, quietly and legally, before he gained the full power to act. Palace officials had already confirmed that Camilla would not be given Royal Lodge if Prince Andrew ever left it. Ray Mill House was her only certain place to go if Charles died and William became king. By placing it in her children's names before that moment, she protected it from any future changes inside the royal system. The financial truth behind all of this is very clear. Camilla does not have her own separate income from the state. She is supported through the sovereign grant, which is money given to the royal institution by the government. That funding is controlled by the monarch. When William becomes king, he will have full control over it. He has already spoken about wanting a smaller monarchy with stricter rules about who benefits from royal connections. Tom and Laura Parker Bowles have never worked for the royal family, but their closeness to it has given them opportunities and social advantages that most people never have. Under William's plan, even those advantages could disappear. And in December 2025, something happened that showed how alone Camilla was becoming, even within her own family. She personally called her son Tom and asked him to spend Christmas at Sandringham. She told him directly, "I would love you to come. I have not spent Christmas with you in a long time." Tom's reply became public soon after. "I am not spending Christmas at Sandringham. Neither is my sister. It will be every other year. 1 year there, 1 year away." Instead, he spent Christmas on the sofa at his ex-wife's house. The Queen of England asked her son to come for Christmas, and he refused. Her children, who carry Andrew Parker Bowles's name and grew up inside all of this history, are already quietly creating distance between themselves and the royal system. They can sense what is coming. They are adjusting their position before it happens. They can also see that their mother is no longer in control. For a long time, she played the long game, and she succeeded. She reached the coronation. She had the crown placed on her head. She became Queen of England despite public protest, despite Diana's memory, and despite the pain of many people. She achieved everything she worked for. And now, the man she has always feared is close to becoming king. William puts up with her. That is the word experts use, not respect, not love, not value. He puts up with her. He is angry. Insiders say she seems more focused on protecting her own position than caring for his father's health. He believes she is pushing Charles to keep working, to keep appearing in public, even at the cost of his health and his life. Because every day Charles remains an active king is another day Camilla stays at the center. When William becomes king, Camilla's funding will be under his control. And if he chooses, he can reduce her role to that of a guest in a place that was once her own court. The boy who walked behind his mother's coffin at 15 years old is now the most powerful man in Britain. He is not paranoid. He is not acting on emotion. He is not reacting. He is just beginning.